Some children grow up being yelled at. Some grow up being pressured to succeed. But there's another kind of child in many families, the one no one notices, not because they're perfect, not because they're happy, but because they learn something very early. If I stay quiet, if I don't need anything, if I disappear into the background, maybe everything will stay calm. So they become the easiest child to raise, the one who never complains, the one who handles things alone. And strangely, that's exactly why no one sees them. If you were that child, you probably learned to carry your pain in silence. And today, you might still be doing it. Imagine a typical chaotic household. Maybe one parent is angry all the time. Maybe another is emotionally distant. Maybe one sibling is always causing trouble. The house feels tense. Someone is yelling. Someone is crying. Someone is demanding attention. And in the middle of all that noise, there's one child sitting quietly in their room. They're not causing problems. They're not asking for help. They're not drawing attention. They're reading, or daydreaming, or staring at the ceiling thinking about things no child should have to think about. No one checks on them much, not because their parents hate them, but because in families like this, attention goes to whoever is the loudest problem. The angry child gets attention. The successful child gets attention. The rebellious child gets attention. But the quiet one, they're easy to forget. So slowly, something strange happens inside that child. They start believing their needs don't matter. Psychologists sometimes call this role the invisible child. Not invisible physically, emotionally invisible. It happens in families where there's too much chaos, conflict, or emotional immaturity. Parents become overwhelmed, and children unconsciously adapt to survive the environment they're in. One child becomes the troublemaker, one becomes the achiever, one becomes the achiever, one becomes the tea maker, and one becomes invisible. That child learns something very early. Don't make things harder. Don't ask for too much. Don't be a problem. So they shrink themselves. They become quiet observers of the family, watching everything, feeling everything, but expressing almost nothing. Pause for a moment. Think about your childhood. Were you the one who handled things alone? The one who didn't want to bother anyone? The one who thought, they're already stressed, I shouldn't make it worse? If that sounds familiar, you may have learned invisibility very early. Invisible children often become extremely emotionally aware. They notice small changes in people's moods. They can tell when someone is angry before anyone says a word. They know how to avoid conflict, how to stay out of the way, how to read the room. But here's the painful part. While they learn to understand everyone else's emotions, no one teaches them how to express their own. So they grow up carrying feelings they don't know how to share. Sadness, loneliness, confusion, and sometimes a strange emptiness they can't explain, not because nothing happened to them, but because something important didn't happen. They weren't emotionally seen. When invisible children become adults, the pattern often continues. They become the friend who listens to everyone, the partner who never asks for much, the co-worker who quietly takes on extra work. They appear strong, independent, low maintenance. But inside, something still feels missing, because part of them still believes my needs are too much. My feelings aren't important. I should handle things alone. And here's the twist most people don't expect. The invisible child often becomes the most responsible adult. They grow up fast. They become thoughtful, empathetic, deep. They're often the ones people trust the most, but that strength was built from adaptation, not from being supported. Sometimes these adults struggle with things that confuse even them. Why is it so hard to ask for help? Why do I feel uncomfortable when someone focuses on me? Why do I feel like a burden, even when people care about me? The answer often goes back to one quiet childhood lesson. Attention was for other people, not for me. Another strange thing happens too. Invisible children often become chronic overthinkers. Because when you grow up observing everything silently, your mind becomes your safest place. You replay conversations. You analyze people's behavior. You wonder if you did something wrong, not because you're dramatic, but because your brain learned early that noticing details helped you stay safe. Pause again for a second. Have you ever felt more comfortable supporting others than being supported yourself? More comfortable listening than speaking? More comfortable disappearing into the background, even when you're capable of so much more? That quiet instinct might not be your personality. It might be your survival strategy. But here's the realization many invisible children have later in life. They weren't invisible because they didn't matter. They were invisible because they were the least demanding person in a difficult environment. In other words, they were easy to overlook. And when you understand that, something powerful shifts. You realize the silence you carried wasn't weakness. It was adaptation, your empathy, your emotional intelligence, your ability to read people. Those things came from surviving a complicated emotional environment. But survival patterns don't have to become permanent identities. The invisible child grows up believing they shouldn't take up space. But healing often begins with a simple realization. You were never meant to disappear. Your thoughts matter. Your emotions matter. Your presence matters. And the world doesn't become heavier when you share your feelings. Sometimes it becomes more honest. Many invisible children grow into incredibly thoughtful adults. People who understand pain deeply. People who care deeply. People who notice the small things others miss. But the final step of healing is learning something they were never taught as kids. It's okay to be seen. It's okay to ask for support. And it's okay to stop carrying everything alone. Because the quiet child who once disappeared into the background deserved to be noticed all along.